we wanted to start in September. What happened?
You forgot to show up at the first podcast.
All right, so we'll roll. We'll go now.
Let's go live.
Let's do it.
Are we live?
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live.
Did
Who
you
was
hear
it? What's his name from
Bill-
Fox News? Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly. We're doing it live.
Fuck it. Guy's an asshole.
All right, so I'm Derek, and
I'm Mark,
you are Mark.
and we are
A mess.
ex-band members from
Yeah.
back in the day. Back in the hard rock,
30 years
32
ago.
years ago.
That's
We
a long
were in the
time.
scene,
Our little scene.
our little scene.
So, yeah, we played together 30 years ago. We get together every now and then. And usually we talk shop. And the wives roll their eyes.
Right. And we do frequent concerts. We go to the concerts together.
But, so anyways, we get together. We always talk shop and we talk about old bands from the 80s. And we said, let's do something where, well, we're always goofing on some of the bands. And we're saying this stuff doesn't hold up. So
Right.
we said, let's do a podcast where we discuss the music and if it actually holds up today.
Right.
So we're going to try this.
Yeah. So we're going to take three albums from the 80s, and we're going to critique them. We're going to see how they hold up 30 or 35 years later.
No, longer. 40.
40 years later. Man,
If
time
my math
flies.
is right, carry the 1, subtract the 2. Yeah, no, 40 years.
Right.
So my concept was, since we're in 2022, we will go back to 1982, look at the albums that were released in the month that we're in, and then critique 3 of them. Critique is a
Yeah.
loose term.
Right.
We may look at the song and go, yeah, that sucked. And then talk about whether it holds up today.
Right. And these are strictly our opinions.
Yeah.
You know, everyone has their own opinions on what they like and don't like. This is what we feel about these albums.
We usually agree.
You and I usually on the same page as far as what we like for music, what works, what doesn't work, what we like, what we don't like. So
And so what are we going to call the podcast?
say what you will.
Nice.
Right.
Do
If
you
any
know?
hard rock fans from the 80s might know where that title came from.
Yeah. You want to know what's funny, though? I never knew that band until I met you.
Really?
I think we were playing wiffle ball in your parents' backyard, and you put it on. And I was like, what is this?
Great album.
That's a good
The
album.
first 2 albums are great.
And my wife, Lisa, knows it. So I was like, oh, all right, she's cool.
Yeah. The band we're referring to is Fastway, by the way. And that's a band I've seen a couple of times back in the mid-'80s, opening up for Scorpions. I've seen them open
Really?
for AC/DC. They're a super
Why did
group
I
in a
never-
way.
I don't know why they weren't on my radar.
Because, well, they weren't really a super group because the singer was an unknown, but the guitar player was from Motorhead, Fast Eddie Clark. So he pretty much formed. And the bass player, little tidbit, was a guy named Pete Way, where they got the Fast Way from. Fast Eddie Clark was the fast. Pete Way was the
No
way.
way.
Pete Way was in a band called UFO. But there was a falling out between him and Fast Eddie, and he never recorded the album.
Huh.
So his name's on it, but he never. They found another bass player to record that first album, which I think is a great album.
I never knew that. That's the checkered.
The Checkered Flag album.
Yeah.
And then the second one called All Fired Up was really good. Then after that, I kind of lost touch with them. They started getting into keyboard synthesizer, and which a lot of bands, I think, by 87, 88, were kind of going that route. I don't know if Jump was a little bit of a... Triggered it a little bit, and bands are trying to get a little bit more commercial on the softer side, you know.
Yeah, I never knew him, but I love the song. So say what you will, but
yeah,
the podcast will be about whether the bands hold up or not, or whether the album holds up or not. So one of the things I discovered in looking for the albums we were going to talk about and the bands was in '82, there weren't a lot of hard rock bands. So there weren't a lot of hard rock albums that came out.
Albums that were released.
So we're going to take some liberty. Well, first of all, we're in October. We wanted to start in September. What happened?
You forgot to show up at the first podcast.
I don't think so. Well, the first one, someone had the sniffles and was sick.
Oh, yes.
And then we scheduled it the following week. And for those who may know Mark, you may not. This may not sound out of character, but I showed up at his house on last Saturday night. Had my laptop and stuff, and house was dark. I was like, "Oh, he must be down in his basement, all ready to go." And knocking on the door, no one's answering.
I was in Portland, Maine.
I'm like, sent him a text. I'm like, "Where are you, ding dong?" I'm in Portland.
I think the COVID was still affecting my judgment.
You had long haul a week later.
Oh, yeah.
So we're now in October. So the albums we're reviewing today, we had already reviewed them in our minds and took notes, 3 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago. Yeah.
So we're gonna have to we'll have to play a little catch up. We'll have to do another one this month, and then we're going to have to take some liberties, I think, the rest of the year because, like I said, there's not a lot of rock albums.
Yeah, it all depends on what came out that month back in '82. I mean, if nobody released anything, then we're going to have to adjust.
Well, we did. I think one of the ones we're doing today came out in November, and we did a random pick. So,
right.
But I did look ahead in 2023. Is when hard rock albums started a lot, like every month.
Oh, 83.
Yeah. There's a lot of, There's a lot of albums being released.
The only thing that bums me out a little bit is Diver Down for Van Halen came out in '82. And we've already missed it because I think it was early in the year.
Yeah, but so the way I'm doing it and the way we did it for this one of the albums, I'd have to look it up. One or two of the albums came out in September, but the third one didn't. So I have a list of all the albums in '82, and I did a random thing. And so it just picked the third album that we picked.
Right.
So technically, next month we could hit one of those.
Oh, you could hit it.
Because we may only have two in October, and we need a random one from the whole year. Okay. So we're going to take some liberties there.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll see. We'll see if they hold up. So the next thing, let's get this out of the way. I sent Mark a text maybe 3 weeks ago and said, "Have you seen this stuff that David Lee Roth is releasing?"
Horrendous. If I could be candid.
He's re-recording
things that don't need to be re-recorded.
Right.
Essentially.
The masters are intact.
Well, I think what Dave thinks is if he reworks these classic songs, it's going to make them better, and it really doesn't make them any better. I mean, he's trying to rework You Really Got Me, which there's never going to be better than what was released on that first album. Yeah. So I don't understand what his motivation is for that.
What's funny though is all the I was telling you, you reading the comments? Like, all the comments are like, this is amazing. Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. This is so good. You never sounded better. And I'm like,
What?
what are they I don't know what they're smoking.
Even the guitar part in that isn't even played correctly.
No, but you know what I don't know. I think it was like 86 that Dave started reaching for a register that is not in his range. And he's doing that on this stuff, and it's just horrible. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have a range.
Right.
At this point.
Right. I would be psyched if he just re-recorded it and sang it the way it was done before.
Yeah, but I don't think he can, like you just touched on, I don't think he can hit the notes. I don't think he doesn't have the screams that he was doing back in those days, which is all over those classic albums. And he can't recreate.
But even the regular melodies, he doesn't. He just
no. He sings everything with a whole different rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
he's trying to make it fresh for 2022, but I don't think.
And what is he? 69? How old is he? 70?
Yeah, he's got to be in his mid-late 60s.
The other thing he may be doing is, and I think I heard someone talking about this, or Blabbermouth or something, that Van Halen hasn't, sold their catalog like, Motley sold theirs.
Right.
Then they bought it back, and then they sold it again.
Yeah.
Who's Dylan has sold his.
Another band just last week sold their rights to all their music.
Yeah.
I just read that.
So I'm wondering if the other play, and I don't know if he can do this, but I'm wondering if he can actually shop these songs for commercials or other uses, because he's re-recorded them.
It's possible.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know the logistics of that.
But the bottom line is it's horrendous. I said
it's not good
the
quality.
The drum sound is horrible.
No. And he has some good solo stuff. Obviously, Eat 'Em and Smile was awesome. I thought that album was better than 5150 when it came out. It felt like
came out before it too, didn't it? Didn't he drop it right before?
Knowing him, he probably did. But the thing about that is it felt like the next record Van Halen should have made, to me. Where when 5150 came out, it was a whole different
sound.
Yeah.
Totally.
Which I didn't think was...
Eddie had switched over to the EVH sound, right?
Yeah.
I think he switched over to the guitar.
It was just a whole, more commercial sounding, polished. I mean, that was what I loved about Van Halen the most growing up, was the unpolishedness of them. The stuff they left on albums that were mistakes that they said, we're not taking it off of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when he comes in early singing on Everybody Wants Some, and Eddie hits that note before he's supposed to sing. I love the fact that Templeman said, believe in it.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not taking that out of there.
There's a lot of that. There's actually, on that album, that's Women, there's another bass, F-up on that album. And I remember my friend pointing it out to me. Actually, he thought it was Dave saying something. I go, that's the bass. And he's hitting the wrong note.
It's just and I've heard Alex, hit the rim of the drum or hit the bell of the cymbal trying to do a roll, and they left it.
Yeah.
But I love that raw quality of those albums. And I think when Sammy joined, Sammy's mentality was, we're cleaning this up. He wanted to clean up all those big, like the ending of Hot for Teacher, that big, celebration style ending.
Yeah.
He came in and said, no more of that.
Let's
cut it. And then Templeman was out, and then they started using Mick Jones and from Foreigner, and it just become like soccer moms, music.
Until For an Awful Carnival.
Yeah, well, they came back with a vengeance on that, and I love that album.
Yep.
But I think Dave's Eat 'Em and Smile was an extension of, I think, what Van Halen could have went, after that 84 album. And But then I don't know if he kind of started going downhill.
Skyscraper was like a complete
Skyscraper
reverse.
was overproduced.
It was awful.
Didn't enjoy that at all. Steve Vai, I don't think is a great songwriter. I think he's a great guitar player. No one's going to dispute that. But I don't think he's a solid. And look at what happened when he joined Whitesnake.
Yeah.
After Sykes left, who wrote all of that, Still the Night album, and then
You just touched on two things. Hold on. So Steve Vai is an awesome documentary on YouTube that he actually signed off on, but it's really good. You should check it out. And then you just said Sykes. You know what I heard the other day or last week? So Winery Dogs. Sheehan,
Kotzen and
Kotzen and
Portnoy.
Portnoy. It was before Kotzen joined. Sheehan, Portnoy, Sykes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They were I think it was called something like Rotten Apple or something Apple. And then I was like, what? That would have been awesome.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, John Sykes is incredible.
Yeah.
Songwriter, guitar player. He's just a great musician. And you could tell, because that album, Slip of the Tongue, that came out after, he left, the song quality.
What was the other guitar player? Vandenberg?
Vandenberg. It's just the songwriting was not there.
No. Poppy.
Huh?
It was very poppy.
It was poppy, and it was, like I said, it was that late 80s, and things were getting poppy, with all the bands, except Metallica,
They were going heavier.
Right.
So, I don't know why he's recording those, but, I texted you yesterday that You Really Got Me happened. I was like, oh, my God, what is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know what his motivation is behind that.
He sounded like a lounge singer, even more and more.
Well, he wants to be he loves the whole lounge singer philosophy and mentality. He likes Vegas. He likes those artists when growing up. He's into vaudeville. He's into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he incorporates it into his act. I don't think he did it early on, but it started to show later on. He had the tap dancing floor in the middle of the stage. He'd be sliding around out there like Gabby Hayes or whatever the hell that guy's name is there. Who's Fred Astaire? I mean, these are the guys he was influenced by.
Fred Astaire.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that he's putting these spins on these songs.
Yeah.
He's trying to add that effect to them, and
just go away into the sunset.
he needs to.
I saw. I was on YouTube. I think it was yesterday, and it said Eddie Van Halen's last live performance, and it was them and I think the Hollywood Palladium or something on that tour that they did with Dave, and they did Full Bug. It was Full Bug. I was like, oh, I gotta watch it. Can't be any worse than the US Festival, No,
but great deep cut.
Classic. I forgot the fucking words. I mean,
he didn't forget the words. He just told you he forgot the words because that was the coolest thing you could say in front of 30,000 people.
That holds up today.
Of course it does.
That is awesome. But anyways, so I watched it. It was worse than that performance. It was awful. Dave was just talking through the song. Eddie was ripping. Al was looking at Dave on the drum riser going, get the hell off my drum riser.
Yeah, I know.
And Wolfgang was overdoing.
Well, when you can't sing, you talk.
Yeah.
You talk it out. You talk your words out.
Well, look, that's why I'm talking now. I can't sing.
That's why I got a podcast.
I'll admit it. I can't sing.
That's why I play drums. I can't sing.
So, but when we were going to record this last week, before Mark totally blew me off and went to Portland, we were going to talk about Ed's 2 years passing. And
yeah, it's almost like it. I know it happened, but it feels like it's like he's still around.
You feel he's just going to show up someday and start.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like when certain people die, you're like, he's gone. He's dead, whatever. But something with Eddie Van Halen, I don't know. it doesn't feel real. I don't even know it's been a couple of years, and I know he's gone. But it's
That's probably our. I mean, I was too young for Bonham. I was 80,
I was too
80.
young for that too. We were around, but we were
Yeah.
teenagers.
I didn't understand.
Whatever. But
yeah, that's. I think. I'm trying to think of another musician that's passed that's hit hard for.
well, a lot of them
Well,
passed.
you had a party too. I remember.
I had a
came
party
down.
for Eddie. I thought that was in order.
Yeah.
You came over. We had a good crowd. We celebrated.
Looked at old magazines.
We celebrated his life. I mean, he was I'm not even a guitar player, and I was just like mesmerized by him growing up as a kid. He almost seemed like a character to me, like Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse. He was wasn't even like a real person. He was more of a character. Like when he was done touring, you put him away. You know what I mean? And all he did was come out and tour and play and be on stage. You were just the mystique of that guy.
Well, I was just going to say
mystique.
that was the whole mystique of Van Halen. Like you didn't. Well, today you don't even hear anything.
Yeah, you never thought about their personal lives.
No.
You just thought about them. Like Eddie always had a guitar strapped on him and had, his stage clothes on, and you always thought he was doing that 24/7. You know what I mean?
Which, from what they say, he was.
And I loved Alex Van Halen. He was a big influence on me as a drummer. But there was more of a mystique with Eddie for me, especially in the old days when he never talked and he wasn't the spokesman for the band and you knew nothing about him.
Yeah,
except the pictures you saw of him, and you always had to come up with your own. Wonder what he's like as a person. What's his voice sound like?
Yeah.
What kind of personality does this guy have? You knew nothing until Sammy joined, and then Eddie started to come out and talking, and then the mystique kind of dissipated for me. But so yeah, he had a big impact on me, even though I wasn't a guitar player. Just as
I had his poster up. I think he had the yellow pants on and no shirt and
the guitar
his
there.
Hair,
it was just he was the epitome of what you wanted to be as a rock star. No matter what instrument you played.
Yeah.
He was the guy, and Dave too. You were obviously a big Dave guy. And so was I. I love Dave. Those are the guys I wanted to emulate and be. I want to be a rock star. I want to be Eddie and Dave. You know what I mean? Those are the guys that motivated me. And there were other guys too, but those were the guys that, because they were early. I mean, they come out in 78. There was no Motley Crue, Rat, Doc, and there was none of those guys were around yet. You had Kiss and you had Led Zeppelin. And, but Zeppelin were really showcase kind of, they didn't have like a big stage.
No.
Robert just sat there and sang. He was awesome.
Yeah.
But there was he wasn't like the master of ceremonies.
I can't imagine what it was like hearing that first album. Like,
which one?
Van Halen 1.
Oh.
Like, I can't imagine, like, when that hit the scene. And then you hear it.
Game changer.
Everyone, like, people are like, what the?
Game changer.
What the?
There was nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was been another band since then that was a game changer until Guns N' Roses come out with Appetite. I thought, this is different. This is like...
Not Poison?
It was from the Sunset Strip, but it wasn't...
It wasn't the Sunset
what you've
Strip.
been hearing on the Sunset Strip. And I was like, wow, this band... And I remember when that album came out, it wasn't even out yet. I was listening to WBCN in Boston, and they were in the studio. And probably not all of them. There was a couple of guys in the studio, and nobody knew who that band was. And I was listening. It was a Sunday night, and in my bedroom, I had it on. They go, we got this band, Guns N' Roses, in here. We're going to play their album tonight. It wasn't even released yet. And I had my boombox. And I had a tape in it, the cassette tape back in the day, 1987, right?
86, I think it came out.
86, 87. I taped it, They played the whole album. And I remember going out with a bunch of buddies on a Friday night, and I had that tape, and that album wasn't even out yet. And I go, guys, you got to listen to this new band. I go, they're not what you've been accustomed to listening to, in the rock scene. And we threw that tape in. Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, all of it. My Michelle, and they're like, who are these guys? I go, I don't know. I go, I was listening to BCN the other night. They were in the studio, and they played the album, and I hit record.
They probably played the Paradise.
Yeah, they were probably playing somewhere in town, in a club.
Yeah.
But, like you were saying, that was the same impact that I think Van Halen had in '78. Like, this is changing the landscape, the music landscape,
Yeah.
And not a lot of bands have that capability of doing that. You got to be. I think Alice in Chains, for me, kind of had that a little bit. I wasn't big on a lot of that scene, but
they were a little different.
They were a little different.
They were. You could hear the Sabbath influence and all that.
Yeah, but just the way they had the dual vocal lead vocals with Staley and Cantrell, it's like nobody was.
No.
Who was doing that?
No.
Like the harmonies, like were different.
Yeah, that was nuts. I guess they sound great touring now, even with I forget the singer's name they've got.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's not. No one's.
I was living in California at the time when that first album came out. When Facelift came out, the album actually hadn't come out. They were opening for Extreme. This was what, 91? I was up there.
Yeah.
They were opening for Extreme at, I forget the place I saw them in LA. And I was right up front on the stage, and they came out, and Cantrell came over. I was on his side. He came over stomping his boots and almost stepped on me. But I was like, who the fuck are these guys? And I was like, who's this singer just sitting there ready to rip everyone's head off?
Yeah, yeah.
It was bizarre. I had no idea who they were. And then that night also, after Extreme played, at the end, Tommy Lee came out, and they played that funky music, White Boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tommy drummed, and it was cool. But I guess one last thing, Wolfie playing the tunes on the Taylor Hawkins thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I instantly messaged you and was like, he has his old man's fingers. Like, you can hear the tone.
And Eddie's always said that, because I remember listening to an interview with Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent, I think Van Halen opened up for Ted, and Ted walked over to Eddie and picked up his guitar and played it through his rig, and it sounded like Ted Nugent. He's like, why does it sound like? It doesn't sound like you? He goes, because it's not. You're Ted Nugent.
But I think Eddie also grabbed Ted's guitar and his rig, and sounded like Eddie.
It sounded like Eddie because it's in the hands, it's in the fingers, and I think because Wolfgang obviously it's in the blood. I think he just has.
He ripped those tunes. I mean, it's so
effortless.
Good. Oh, so good.
Effortless. And
And I texted you and I said, going forward, no one should be able to play Van Halen songs other than him. And I think.
Oh, I agree.
And then I sent you an article. Satriani said the same thing because Satriani was supposed to play with. There was rumors of him, Dave, Al, and Newsted, I think, going out and doing some.
Yeah.
But Satriani goes, after I saw Wolfie play, he's got to play it all.
Well, the thing is, Satriani could go out and do it. He could play the songs. He could play anything. But it's going to sound like Joe Satriani playing Van Halen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Wolfgang sounds like Van Halen playing Van Halen. So I don't know if that thing will ever come to fruition. It seems
he's working on a new album right now.
Yeah, and he's talented. He sings. He plays bass.
He's doing all the drums.
He does everything on his albums.
Yeah, he's like Grohl. Grohl did that first album all by himself.
But he's more talented.
Yeah.
But
so cool. You don't even know about this. I brought you a gift.
What?
Open it up.
It's heavy.
Open it up.
Wait a minute.
I put some things in a Christmas box for Mark. I was I won't say where I was until after you open it, but I was like, oh, I gotta give this to Mark.
Whoa. Oh, I know what you got here. You got a bunch of metal magazines.
I was at my mother's.
I don't have that one.
I was at my mother's.
I have this one. Did I? These my magazines?
No, they're mine.
Oh.
You can have them. You can have them. You can look
I don't
through
have
them.
that one.
You can look through them over the next few weeks.
Skid Row.
At my mother's, I have a box of old stuff from 80s and early 90s.
We gotta put that up.
And what is it? Rip magazine.
You got Rip
Metal
here,
Edge.
you got Metal Edge.
Circus.
Yeah.
It's funny to
Full
go
of
back and
boys.
look through those.
Yeah, I mean, I've got tons of these. I don't know where they went. They were at my parents' house in Manchester, and they moved, and I don't know what happened.
So the 4 of them there? I've got another 25 of them.
5 of them.
I got a ton of them.
Yeah, I got a ton too. You know,
You just don't know where they are.
I have no idea where they went. They do have a ton.
4 of mine are right there. You can look through them. All right. So I think I screwed up earlier too. I said Full Bug, and I think that was Romeo Delight.
Yeah, because I don't
Song
think they
of
played the full bug on that tour, but they did play Romeo Delight.
And we'll get off Eddie after this. Top 3 riffs. Not songs. Riffs.
Van Halen.
No, Mark Slaughter. Yes.
All right. I'm the one. Van Halen 1.
What? So, well, do them in order. Is that your number 1?
Yeah, that's number 1. I'm the 1.
Okay.
Number 2, Van Halen. I'm gonna go with Out of Love Again.
2 off the first album.
No, Out of Love
that's
Again,
second
second album. So Out of Love Again. 3. Take Your Whiskey Home.
Oh, 1, 2, and 3 album.
Take Your Whiskey Home.
It's off Women.
That's off Women.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go
Outlier.
Mean Street.
All right, that's 4, but
That's fair warning.
okay.
And
So this is funny. So I wrote mine down.
all right,
'cause
so
I knew
hold
I was
on.
gonna ask you.
I'm writing them down. So I got one more, right?
No,
You said you say
3.
top 5?
3. That's why when you said 4.
Oh, I
was
just
like,
gave
that's
you 4. All right.
Yeah. So what's funny is I did mine. Number 3, Romeo Delight.
Which is great.
Yeah. Number 2, Full Bug.
Which is great.
Boom, wow, 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 wow.
Uh-huh.
And number 1 is your number 1. I'm the 1. And then I had it as an alternate, Unchained, because.
Oh, that's just. It's too many to name. I mean,
But Unchained, and a guitar player would be able to tell us this. Maybe Mike can let us know. Unchained was that like the first hard rock drop D riff song? Like, 'cause that was totally different. He hadn't done that
with
on any other album.
with that chugging. Dan. I
Yeah.
don't think there was a lot of that going on. Certainly not from Van Halen. I mean, I'm the One was more of a shuffle.
Yeah.
Digga 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 digga. This is more like that chug.
Oh yeah, no, it was awesome. I remember listening to that just over and over and over. All right, cool. Oh, you know, I heard someone the other day talking about Dave and Al were going to do a residency, and then they canceled it. Dave canceled it, but I guess Al was going to play with them. I saw a picture of it, like a poster. And they were going to do.
Oh yeah. I thought I heard something about that as well.
I don't know how long it was going to be, but I heard someone talking about it, and they're like, "Oh, we're doing a residency. We're going to do 6 shows or 8 shows or whatever."
Mm.
And then I thought back to that 5150 album when they toured, they did like 6 shows in Worcester, back to back to back.
Yeah.
Remember that tour?
Yeah.
It was a huge tour for them. But they did residencies like in every city.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I think the 5150 was I think a lot of it was just people wanting to know how it's going to be with Sammy Hagar live. I mean, it was the first album, the first tour, and people were just
I saw it a lot. Did you see it a lot?
I saw it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And, like I said, it was great, but I tell you what, I went and saw Even Smile live, and I'm like, this feels like a Van Halen concert.
Yeah.
Just stage, the production.
You saw
it told you who was in charge of all that, obviously.
But you saw 84, so...
I saw 84, which looked like Eat 'em and Smile. Big amps.
Big lights.
Show me one amp on the 5150 tour on stage.
Nothing.
There weren't any.
No.
The only thing that looked reminiscent of a Van Halen concert was Alex's drum set. He had the big drums up there. But, and I don't know, that could have been, is that Eddie saying, we're going to do everything opposite of what Dave's production was, purposely?
Could have been.
Oh, you want this? We're going to do this. You had this? We're going to do this.
What I don't know is, was that tour kind of, or that stage and all that stuff, was that similar to Sammy's VOA tour? I
Yeah,
wasn't even in the same.
it might be. But then again, when Dave left, who took over that? Who was responsible for the design of the stage? Whose job was that? I don't think it was anybody even in the band anymore. I think they probably outsourced it to someone else.
Well, Pete Angelis, they probably went with Dave.
Well, Pete went with Dave.
Yeah.
So, who was designing this stuff? It came back a little bit with Unlawful Kind of Knowledge. They put the amps back up on stage, and it was a little more of a hard rock.
I forget, what was the Monsters of Rock tour? What album was that?
Oh, you 812.
Yeah.
But the same thing, no amps on stage, nothing.
I don't remember.
Not like you need amps on stage. You could run one amp on a mic and then you run a PA.
Yeah.
But it looked cool. I mean, you looked at a Van Halen concert, like in '82. It looked awesome with all those amps. None of those were live.
No, but it was the visual.
The visual, yeah.
All right. Well, you want to anything else? Do you want to move on to the album? Oh, I know what I was going to say. I heard that Def Leppard and Motley Crue are doing the tour again in next year. They're doing that stadium thing again.
Why?
It's going to flop. It's not. This one was successful, I think, for them monetarily.
I think it was successful for Poison and Def Leppard.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna flop, and it's gonna because I think there was so much time before live concerts because of COVID.
Yeah,
Molly hadn't been out forever, or Def Leppard. Well,
right. So there was a demand. I mean,
so yeah, I think next year it's not gonna do well at all. And then I read an article that Molly's gonna continue the tour this winter overseas, and they're going to use John 5 maybe.
I heard that's. I just read something like that they were going to get rid of Mick. Why would you do that at this point? I mean, unless it's health reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know why. We'll touch on this quick because I know we got other things we got to talk about. But a perfect example is when they got Karabi in the band. When they got Karabi in that band became a better band. He was a better musician, obviously, than Vince Neil. He played guitar. He was a songwriter. He could sing. That album was great.
It was the best album.
It was their best album. But it's not what fans wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go there and see what you grew up on in the 80s with Vince Neil, the blonde singer. And Nikki Sixx knew that. And he's like, yeah, it's great playing with John Karabi. And I think he's great. And I think he's writes great songs, and I love being with him. But when money starts coming into the picture and success, what did he do?
That way.
He turned his back.
Well, the late, so they had just signed before Karabi. Well, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but before they got Karabi, they had just signed that big deal with, I don't know what label it was, and after that Motley album tanked, the label said, we didn't spend $60 million or whatever it was to get you guys on this label. We spent it for Vince, and they had to do it.
Yeah.
I think they were pressured to do it. Well, I think Karabi even said that in his book. But do you remember when that Karabi album came out, where we were when we got it?
Daytona. Daytona Beach.
We were listening to it on my parents had a boombox in their condo that had little,
I think there was
little 2-inch speakers.
CDs out though, right?
Yeah, but we had.
Did we buy a CD back then? It was a cassette.
But we bought the cassette because that's how we had to play it on.
No, that's right. We didn't have a CD player.
But we were playing it on this little
times
boombox,
are tough.
like 2-inch speakers, and we kept going. God, imagine what this sounds like on
Oh, I
a
know.
real system. And then we got home and put it in my truck, and we were like, "Holy smokes!"
I love that album.
It was heavy.
That was a great album. In fairness to Motley Crue, it was almost at the very end, if not the end of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the grunge thing was coming in, and I think that had a lot to do with that poor record sales. If they released that album a couple years earlier, it probably would have done a lot better. But 92 that come out? That was right
Yeah, maybe.
right on the cusp of grunge.
Yeah.
So I don't think any band from that era, unless you're a superstar band like Aerosmith or Van Halen or something like that, you are not going to sell, what you were selling previously.
Yeah.
But great album.
Although it's in the 90s, that album still holds up.
I think that album does. I could listen to that album today and not feel like I'm being nostalgic.
Yeah.
Where some albums you love them and you're like, okay, I like it, but it sounds dated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it then, and not so much now.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think we touched on the things we wanted to discuss as far as that goes.
So
what do you got?
I got we'll get into the albums, and so what we're gonna do with the albums, we're gonna step through each song. We can't play them, but we'll say them and kind of give a yay or nay, and then at the end say, does the album hold up, and move on, type of thing. So I did look this up though. In 1982, Led Zeppelin guitarist Jimmy Page is given a 1-year suspended sentence for cocaine possession.
Are you kidding me?
No. Little day in history of in 82.
I did not know that.
I think it was September of 82, actually.
I think he did have a...
You think he had a drug problem?
Oh, he had a heroin. Was he on heroin? He had...
I'm sure.
He was into Satan for a while there. He had some stuff going on, but...
I'm going to go on the limb and say some bands from the 70s probably experimented.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll say the 3 albums that we're doing. Oh, and so one of the things I was talking to Mark about is there's a lot of albums that are listed, or bands that are listed as rock bands, but we're not going to review those. So I was saying like a measuring stick would be like, would these bands be playing together on a tour? I think that's a good...
Right.
I think these 3 we're going to talk about.
I think these 3 potentially could. But I think a lot of it's based on nostalgia. If you're going to say we're getting these classic rock bands.
Oh, no, not today. Even back then.
Back then? Possibly.
They didn't have those type of tours back then.
Right.
Maybe they did. I don't know. But I think these 3 could play together.
I think they could.
All right. So the first one what did we say we're gonna review? The first one.
Let's do The Who.
We're gonna do The Who. It's hard, and I forget. I think it came out in November. I could be wrong, but I think that's the one we took the liberty with. Did you look that up?
Have the date.
Oh, it was released. Yeah,
September. Well, wait a minute.
Yep.
Recorded in June, released in September.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what we were trying to do.
It was their 10th studio album. That's crazy. The album achieved gold status by November.
Yeah.
I actually had to look up what gold status means. Do you know what it means?
500,000 copies.
Yeah, you're on it.
Yep.
You're the smart one here.
Mm-hmm.
I did read that Townsend and Daltrey fought about this album and whether it should be released.
Yeah, I think one of them said they didn't like it and they didn't even want to.
Yeah.
Well, they were contemplating whether they still wanted to be a band.
Yeah.
So I think that played into it.
Yep.
A little bit as well. But the thing is, it's The Who. So even if you wrote the worst album ever, you're The Who, you're going to sell 500,000 copies.
On your 10th album, you're at that point, you're a machine and a corporation.
Of course.
You're moving forward.
You don't know the album sucks until you bought it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Back then.
Right. You couldn't hear a sample or anything. Well, maybe on the radio. But
Right.
They're only going to play the singles.
That was the advantage to the bands back then, was you had to buy the album first to realize it sucked. And by then, who cares? It's gone gold.
Mm-hmm. Rolling Stone gave it 5 stars, which is odd. I think it was, hold on, I wrote it down. Let's see. Who was the, one of them.
Who did produce? Glenn Johns produced it. I don't know if that's any relation to Andy Johns, who's done a lot of work with Led Zeppelin and Van Halen, but I don't know if that guy's Glyn. Glenn Johns?
Yeah, I don't know.
English. I'm going to look that up a little bit. I wonder if that's part of that Johns family of producers.
Yeah, I don't know. The album cover was kind of weak.
Not much there.
Funny.
Well, it is funny. He's got the pinball wizard kid in the back.
Yeah,
I did notice that.
True. That's true. 3 singles was Athena, Eminence, and It's Hard.
I like Eminence Front.
Hold on, you're jumping ahead. What was your introduction to The Who? And don't say this album. No.
No. I think my introduction to The Who, I think my father had a bunch of old albums back in the day. And he had a stack of albums. And I think there was a live album in there from them. I forget the name of it. And I actually didn't mind it. But live, it was a little more raw, a little more heavier than most songs sound recorded.
Mm.
And I actually liked that album, but that live album. Studio albums, don't know a lot about them. Never bought a Who album. I don't think in my life.
I don't either. My brother, who's 10 years older than me, he had that album where I don't even know what it is. They're pissing on the rock or the stone or.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, I'm not too familiar with.
He had that album, and I remember listening to it, but I wasn't a. He had other albums that I liked better, some Skynyrd and Nazareth and stuff like that. But all right, so cool. Let's go. We'll alternate songs. Athena.
I like Athena actually. I remember that song from. I didn't know it was off this album back in the day. I remember hearing it on the radio, and didn't hate it.
Good opening song.
Yeah, I thought it was a good song.
Catchy song.
Catchy. Yeah.
Hooky.
I think it's one of the better songs on this album. Of course, it's a single, so.
Yeah. I don't know if it was the first single, do you?
Was that the first song on the album?
It's the first song on the album. and it's one of the singles, but I didn't know if it was the first single. Probably the first single. I think back then they used to do that too. Like the first single was the first song.
First song on the album, yeah. Well, Jump. Well, they had the intro to Jump, but
yeah.
wasn't Jump the first song off 84.
Yep.
So Athena I like. I think it's one of the better songs on this album.
Mark's rolling his eyes.
Not a huge... You know what I'm not a huge fan of? Roger Daltrey.
What?
I'm not a big Roger Daltrey.
In my head, I'm going, he's not going to say Daltrey. I think that's the strongest part of the band.
No, I actually like Pete Townshend's voice better.
Oh, okay. So on the second song, It's Your Turn, I wrote right on there, Daltrey's voice rocks. He's got these little nuances in his voice on that song, and it's like,
yeah,
it's so good.
I mean, I'm not saying he's.
You just, it's not your.
It's
favorite
not my
part.
thing.
Yeah. All right.
Cooks County, forgettable. Could play that song, and a lot of times we go to see bands, and you leave, and you don't remember any of the songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one of them for me.
Yeah. I took a note that said, good tune. I wish I had found Daltrey's voice earlier when I started singing.
So you like his voice?
Oh, yeah. It's powerful and raw and bluesy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason he doesn't.
Yeah, no.
But it's just what I like in a voice.
They just weren't on my radar in the 80s at all.
Right.
I just didn't think to look at them at all. My brother was into it, but that's it.
Yeah.
It's hard. I wrote, it's hard to listen to.
Oh, I appreciate your honesty.
That was bad.
Because most of his album was hard to listen to.
It was a hard album to get through. But it reminded me very Beatle-like.
Yeah.
He had a
and you know what it was with me with a lot of these songs? Too much singing. There's too much... Too many lyrics. The lyrics are just, it would go on and on and on and on and on. It wasn't like, verse, sing a quick verse, do a pre-chorus, chorus, come back. It was just like telling a story. It was just the vocals. Just, what, you know what I mean?
No,
one verse had 4 paragraphs of vocals in it. And I'm like, jeez,
get to the chorus.
Get to the chorus. Where Eminence Front, I think, went back to just playing.
Yeah, wait, you skipped over Dangerous.
Oh, we missed Dangerous. Don't remember it.
What did I write? I don't know. I didn't like it either. But yeah, then Eminence is next, and so you know what I did with these tunes? I listened to them with headphones. And I don't know. I don't listen to music that much with too good quality headphones on anymore, but these 3 albums I did, and that sounds really cool with headphones. It's a great song. Great beginning.
Which one?
Eminence Front.
Oh, great.
They do a bunch of left and right channel stuff.
Yeah, panning it. Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Probably one of the
great keyboards in the beginning of that.
Well, I wrote one of the most recognizable intros in rock.
Well, as soon as you hear it.
Yeah.
And the other great thing about this song was the video.
I thought you were going to say that Peter sings it and not Daltrey.
Oh, yeah. That's, for me.
You just said it earlier. He's here.
Yeah, and I'm going to stick to that point. But the point I was making was the video's cool. It pretty much is a sound check. It's a sound check. They're getting ready for a show, and they're on stage, and they're playing the song, but they're playing it with an empty arena.
Oh, I'm gonna
doing a sound check. So it's really shows them showing up to the arena, the car pulling up, they get out, they walk backstage, and they come up on stage, and they get behind their instruments, and they jam the song.
Yeah.
And I always liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. And it's a great song. I really like that one. That was probably their best song on that album,
Yeah.
as far as
definitely.
I'm concerned.
They said he wrote the song around a key progression that he was just playing around with. He just kept noodling with it, and then finally it just happened.
Yeah.
But I've known no war, Mark.
Not bad. It was okay. I think when I was researching the album, they said that that was one of the stronger songs on the album, and it was more like an anthem. Obviously any war song or whatever it was, but
So I took these notes.
it wasn't too bad.
I took these 3 weeks ago, maybe more. And I wrote, nah.
Well, yeah, I could that most of this album,
Yeah.
but
One life's enough.
no, it's just nothing. For me, what I like in a song, the elements aren't there. They're not in these songs.
Well, you know what's funny? So the next one is One at a Time. And I wrote, nope. And I go, funny thing is, after Eminence, all these songs just go downhill.
They almost sound like unreleased tracks that they threw together, to make an album. It just,
Yeah.
I just don't think it's for who the band is. Pardon the pun. you would expect stronger material.
Yeah.
As far as considering some of the other albums they've come out with.
Yeah. Again, I don't know the catalog well, but this one was tough. And again, someone who loves the Who may be all over us.
Yeah, it's not really our genre. What we like.
Why did we fall for that? Nope. I wrote nope.
No, it's just.
You know what's weird about the next song? The Man is a Man. I wrote nope.
Oh, you know what? At least you're consistent.
Come on. And then the last song, Cry If You Want. Oh.
Well, I kind of want to after listening to this album.
I wonder if they did it on purpose. Yeah, I wrote here, again, I listened to it a while ago. I can't recall it in my head, but the best part of the song is the guitar outro. So I'm going to have to go back.
Yeah, I think I remember, cause I listened to this album again today to freshen up on it, and that was kind of cool, the ending of that. Hey, this album went gold.
I know. Well, that's the 10th album machine, if you will. What was I going to say? So, and the drummer on that album?
Kenny Jones.
Had he done other albums?
I think that's his first album with them, which I prefer his drumming over Keith Moon. I thought Keith Moon was too busy, and he almost sounded like he was soloing through all the songs. He was very busy, a busy drummer. Where I think when they got Kenny Jones, it got more locked in with just, grooves and laying down in the pocket, which that's why I like that Eminence front so much. I don't think if they wrote that song with Keith Moon, it would have that groove.
I get it. Yep. All right. Say what you will. Does it hold up?
No. I don't think it holds up.
I said no, too. That one song.
Eminence front.
And maybe Athena is holding there.
Yeah. But, those are the big hits.
Yeah.
So they're expected to probably hold up.
Well, I'll bring this up later about something else. But all right. So The Who, It's Hard was overall hard.
Hard. Yeah. The album artwork was, I guess, expected for that era.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of guys on a cover.
But not considering the next album we're going to talk about, next band, because it seems like they put some thought into this. All right, so the next one is, which I had no idea this was in 82, but Rush Singles.
Yeah.
Released in September. Okay, this is the other September band.
Yep.
September 9th, 82. Peaked at number 1 in Canada. Number 10 in the U.S. I don't know their record label.
Atlantic? Were they on Anthem?
Anthem.
Which is a song off their first album.
Is it?
Yeah. Great song.
Well, they were heavy in the beginning.
Well, yeah, and we're going to talk about them now, but I personally prefer the early Rush, more of the heavier, straightforward, guitar-driven.
Yeah.
The first album, Working Man, Fly By Night album. I like that stuff. I don't think they were quite, what's the word, progressive yet. And, but I do like some of the stuff they did in the 80s. See Tom Sawyer and all that stuff is great material.
They've been playing out with that Hawkins tribute.
Yeah, they played with Danny Carey on drums from Tool.
Yeah.
They did YYZ.
Yeah.
It was good.
What's his name played with them too? Chad Smith? I think he played a song with them. Did he play a song, or am I dreaming that?
Oh, he might have.
I have a feeling he did something with them. But anyways, all right, back to the album. This is out after Moving Pictures, which was huge with Tom Sawyer.
Tough album to follow.
Mm-hmm. Certified platinum, selling more than 1 million copies in the U.S. So it beat out It's Hard.
Which wasn't hard to do.
Hey now. They had 3 singles. New World Man, Subdivisions, and Countdown.
Yeah, I don't remember Countdown as a single. I remember New World Man and Subdivisions obviously was the biggest hit off that.
Yeah. Did you ever see Rush?
I didn't see them until later on, like mid-2000s. I didn't see them back in their heyday.
I never saw them.
Yeah, I saw them once. I had tickets at the Verizon in Manchester here, and they were great, but it was later on in their career.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see the 80s Rush. But Subdivisions, I think, is a great song.
Hold on. So I don't know if I told you this. So this summer, I just took a note in here when I was reviewing the album. This summer, I went to Meadowbrook, and I saw, it was called The Legends, Tribute to Legends.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, you told me you're going to that.
There was 7 bands, and Rush was the headliner. And the band that covered, oh Christ, I gotta look it up. The band that does Rush, the Rush tribute band. Oh, what are they called? I'm blanking, but they were really good. The singer nailed it. Bass playing nailed it, just like Eddie. I mean, drummer was nailing it. I mean, they were really, really good. It was pretty cool.
Well, not an easy band to replicate, obviously.
Yep.
Especially the drums.
And Rip, Mr. Neil Peart.
Rip Neil Peart, another.
And he wrote all the lyrics.
Legend.
I don't know if he did all of the songs, but I
he
know
did
that
most of them. He wrote most of the lyrics for them.
What was your the album cover was a dog?
Yeah,
and then the subdivisions on the back. I mean it's better than It's Hard album cover, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like this album actually. I think it's pretty good.
We haven't got there yet. We haven't got to the songs yet. Let me ask you this: like I asked you for the Who, what was your introduction to Rush? Like, did someone introduce you to them?
Oh man, it was probably the first album.
Look at the bottom of that.
What is that?
I don't know, but I gotta stop.
Yeah, sometimes you get like the hops and stuff to go to the bottom of the glass.
I have a beer and it's
possibly. While you're checking that, I'm gonna grab one.
Possibly old. Well, grab mine in there too. So, but the album cover, I don't know. It was good. The subdivisions remind me of when I lived in L.A. and you could reach out your kitchen window. Yep, you could reach out your kitchen window and.
Oh yeah, and the video is the subdivision video pretty much shows that.
Yeah.
Whole
Yeah. All right.
thing.
Well, we'll go with the songs here.
Oh, you were asking me about my
Oh,
first introduction to.
Sorry. Don't forget.
Well, where I lived, I had a guy down the street that played guitar, and he had a band. He was like 10 years older than me. And in the summertime, we were young, so they'd all be at work. So we could go down, me and his younger brother would go downstairs into the little band room they had down there with a bar. And they had all these albums down there. They had Black Sabbath and Rush and Ted Nugent and Bad Company and Foghat. And we'd throw all these albums on.
Huh.
So, of course they had Rush's first album, which I love, which Neil Peart isn't even on.
Oh, really?
He's not even the drummer. It's a guy, John Rutsey, on drums. And so that was my first introduction. And, I didn't really get into them later on when they started getting more into the, 2112, the progressive stuff, and these long 15-minute songs, and wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the straightforward rock stuff they were doing in the early days. I mean, the stuff was great they were doing. It just wasn't. But I do like Moving Pictures. I thought that was good. So let's talk about this.
So hold on. So Billy Tolan introduced me to Rush. Like, I was never exposed to Rush with my brother. Like I said, he was
Billy T.
Billy T. He was my brother was the Foghat, the Rush. I mean the Skinner, the Nazareth. And so I think it was. Oh, you know what? I take that back. It wasn't Bill. It was in high school at a battle of the bands. It was a band that played Tom Sawyer.
What album?
I guess. What's that?
What album were you introduced to? The first album?
Oh no, the Moving Pictures.
Oh, Moving Pictures. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was. But then Bill, he was a huge, or probably still, imagine he still is, a big Rush fan. So he used to play. We used to play it all the time in the car, and so that was my exposure the most to Rush.
Yeah. I mean, Moving Pictures is a great album.
It wasn't like a hard rock singer that I'm usually into. But anyways, cool. Album, first song, Subdivisions.
Classic. What can you say about it?
Yeah, I took a note here because when I was listening to it, it reminded me of
high school.
Well, it reminded me of high school, and I was with Bill, and he took me to this guy's house who had keyboards, and the guy started playing Subdivision. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, great song.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I appreciated it back then, but, I mean, listen to it now, it's like...
Well, you think of those songs back then, they're almost like they were just like the... yeah, well, that too. But they were just like the... what do they call it? I can't remember the word I want to use there.
I forgot.
Huh?
I forgot the fucking word.
I forgot the fucking... Just like the theme of your life back then. Like, it was always there and you heard it. And
Just, you're at a party, you heard it.
You heard it and it was just... Yep. You didn't really think about it. It was just always playing.
Yep.
And always on the radio and always there. So, great song.
Good song. The Analog Kid. I took a note here that I love the timing change of it. And I think there was some great timing changes in it, if I remember right. A great mix, great solo, rockin'.
Yeah, I didn't mind that song.
I said the outro. Oh, the outro keyboard sounded like '84 stuff. That's right. If you listen to it, I said it sounds like Ed may have heard this and started really, getting into it. Yeah, listen to that outro of Analog Kid.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, but good tune. Chemistry. Something I failed in high school. Miserably.
Something I never took.
And my John is crushing it in chemistry and all those things.
Yep.
I don't know how he's getting it, but I said I like the timing change and a little reggae feel to it with the timing change.
Yeah. Not great, not
No.
Subdivisions.
No.
You know,
Again,
but
Subdivision, first song on the album.
best song on the album.
Yeah.
You know.
Digital Man.
Okay.
I wrote okay too.
Okay. Not you know, not hit, worthy.
No.
You know.
I wrote Getty.
But did these guys care about that back
No.
then? I mean, when he's writing Subdivisions, he's not thinking of this is going to be a hit. I don't think they think like that. I don't know if the record labels decide this is the song we're releasing, this is going to be the hit. I don't think Neil Peart's sitting there writing lyric going, this is going to be a hit. He doesn't even have that mindset,
They're focused on just song quality and
Yeah, they have a hook, you know what I mean?
yeah. I wrote Getty was killing it underneath it all.
Oh, it's great bass playing
Oh yeah.
on all these songs.
Yeah.
That's one thing I
That
did
one, he was
notice.
just ripping it. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
I agree 100% on that. Underrated as far as a bass player.
Yeah.
He doesn't get the kudos he deserves.
Yep. And what he's doing, he's singing bass.
Yeah, and he
doing
plays
some
the
keys on
keys.
his feet. And,
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
The Weapon.
Part 2 of Fear.
What?
That's what mine says. The Weapon. And then parentheses, Part 2 of Fear.
All right.
That's
We need Bill Tolan here right now to explain
Yeah, see, that's where we got to get him on the line.
what that means.
Um,
I wrote not my cup of tea.
no.
I may have been having tea at that point, and I said it, and it just recorded.
I mean, obviously, the musicianship and all of this stuff is
Yeah.
phenomenal. But are we talking as a song quality? Okay.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Again,
No.
not my cup of tea. New World Man.
Like it.
Loved it.
Love it. Good song.
I wrote love the signature changes.
No,
that
but this is
happened.
why these are singles.
Yeah. And then I also wrote that the words were all just coming right back to me. Like I was able to sing along, like I knew them all. It's so weird how you remember all that stuff.
Yeah. And it brings you back to a time. I mean, when you listen to The Weapon, you don't think, oh, man, I'm at high school, at a, bonfire in the back. But when you say New World Man, you're like, oh, I remember at a school dance. You know what I mean?
Yep.
These songs bring you back to a time.
Yep.
Where other songs, they just don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Losing it.
I'd put that around with Digital Man and Chemistry. Not bad. Great musicianship. Leave it at that.
Yeah, I was in the same boat, but for whatever reason, I was focusing on the lyrics, and it's a pretty sad song. I didn't even realize it.
I didn't even read the lyrics on it.
I
But
didn't read it, but I was listening to them for whatever reason, and it was kind of sad. I think one of the lines is "The bell tolls for thee," and
yeah.
I was like, "Oh boy, that's a sad one." Countdown.
Good. Better than the other non-singles.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little stronger than that, but not quite New Old Man or Subdivisions.
Yep.
Do the lights keep dimming down here?
No, I
Resisting.
don't see it. That's you.
Must be this thing going.
All right, so say what you will. Does it hold up?
This one's tough because if you're a Rush fanatic, why wouldn't it hold up? I mean, but that's being biased.
I
Ah,
don't want to say what I'm about to say, but I'll keep it to the end. But I think it holds up. I think it's. I mean, if you want a dose of smart rock and listen to, it's not like you're listening to it and going, "Oh, this mix is horrible," or
right. But when we say does it hold up, could you put this album on and somebody who never heard it not know it's from the 80s?
what?
If I played this to somebody album who didn't know this album, would they know it's from the 80s? Would it sound outdated? They say,
I don't
"Oh,
think
that's
I don't know.
good song, but it sounds like it's 40 years ago."
No, I think it holds up. I think on the way home tonight I could put that in and listen to it.
Oh, I could listen to it, but
Yeah.
I could listen to Van Halen 1.
Well,
You know what I mean? But that doesn't. Well, it does hold
Yeah.
up.
It
So
holds
I
up.
guess the criteria for holding up is: does it sound outdated,
would you listen to it?
or does it
No,
just
no,
sound
would-
like it's still
Would you,
viable?
if I all right, here we go. You go into a desert island for 3 weeks. You can take the Who. It's hard, or you can take Subdivisions.
I'm
Okay.
taking Signals.
Signals. I mean, yeah. All right.
Oh, absolutely.
There's the test.
Okay, yeah. if
I mean, that's the way you got to look at it.
right,
I don't know.
right. I mean,
I would sit down and listen to it again.
yeah, I could listen to it. I could
Yeah.
listen to it.
So, all right, cool. That's the second album.
Yep.
Third album that came out. Oh, sorry. This one came out in November. Led Zeppelin CODA. Any idea what this album is like meaning? I have no idea. I didn't. even look
Coda
at it.
means the end. It's a musical note at the end of a sheet music.
That makes perfect sense, though. This is the end.
It's the end of them because John Bonham died,
Hmm.
and that was their last album. So the coda is that little sign at the end of the sheet music, the end of the song.
I didn't know this was going to be an educational.
No, you just
I'm
learned
learning.
something today
I'm
about.
Cool.
Yeah, because I had looked that up years ago, like
actually,
coda.
The album cover is. It's got the line.
Let's
in
get
it.
the line through it. Yeah.
So that must be okay. Cool. So, all these tracks are tracks from previous albums that were not used.
Yeah, just unreleased stuff or what do they call
B-sides
outtakes?
or-
Outtakes and
yeah.
B-sides and just
Do you
but
know
it's Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
So who cares? I mean, some of these songs came out were recorded 10 years before they were put on this album,
Yeah.
but it's still Led Zeppelin.
So here's something I never knew this, but so this was released in '82. Bonham died in '80. He was only 32 years old, and Zepp was only together for 12 years.
Yeah, 69 or 68 to
68 to
69 to
80.
80. Yeah.
That's nuts. Anyways, anything you want to say on that?
Well, I think the only thing I was going to mention about Led Zeppelin is
The famous
were
quote-
they on the uprise or the downslope of their career?
at this time, before Bonham died.
Yeah. Because sometimes when a band member dies like that and they break up, they go into, become a legacy. And who knows? You know what I mean? But if they had continued on another few years, would they still been the same?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if the material is. Although, what was their last studio album with him? In Through the Outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
It did have 3 hits on it. Had Fool in the Rain, had All of My Love.
Yeah,
And so, no. Guy dies like that at the height of their career. You never know if there's going to be a down slope
yep.
to the band.
So you started saying something before on the downslope or whatever, and it reminded me of the Eric Clapton when Page left the Yardbirds and was forming this.
Yeah.
And he formed the band, and he was forming it, and he said he's calling it Led Zeppelin, and Clapton said that thing's going to... Well, he didn't say he was going to call it Led Zeppelin. He's forming a new band, and Clapton said that's going to sink like a Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
Although it rose like one.
Yeah. Wow.
All right.
All right. We're going to groove.
Love it.
So this is going to be interesting because...
Well, it's going to be interesting for you and I because we're both huge Led Zeppelin fans. So I don't want to be totally biased. I'm going to be honest.
Well, I am too. I'm not a fan of this song.
I don't mind that song. I mean,
There's
I say I love it. I wouldn't.
Here's my problem with a lot of these songs. There's a reason they weren't released earlier. Well, one of them was released on the first album, but I just was not a fan of. I didn't care for it. Let me say this. I think I liked it back in the 80s, but when I listened to it today, I was like, I don't care for the song.
Yeah.
So, it's an old 1964. No, wait. It's an old cover tune.
It's a cover tune.
Yeah.
What's his name? Who wrote? What was the album there with the kids in it? All the kids that had
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Benny King. What's his name? He wrote. There was a movie. Remember, all the kids were in it, and he wrote the soundtrack to the album. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick.
I don't know.
It was the only song I knew from this guy.
So he wrote the song?
I don't know if he wrote it, but he sang it, and it was a big.
Like many Zepp tunes, though, this was a cover that they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, what was the name of that song? You'd know as soon as I tell you. Oh, Stand By Me.
Oh.
Stand By Me.
Yeah.
He wrote that song. That Zeppelin.
He did?
Yeah.
Huh. All right. You're going to have to fact check that.
Yeah. Check it out.
Poor Tom.
Okay.
You know what's funny about this song, though? I can always remember the da 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 da. Like, I can always hear that beat in my head. Yeah. It was intended for Zepp 3.
Yeah, it's an outtake.
And I don't mind the song because I don't mind that little drum shuffle
Yeah.
beat. But, yeah, it's okay. I Can't Quit You, Babe.
Another cover.
Willie Dixon. But that was on the first album, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
It was live, I think, wasn't it? Was it live? I think it's live on that.
There may be something different in the song. I may have recorded it a little longer.
I mean, I love the song. I love their version of that song.
It's I read it's been recorded by 30 different artists. That's fine.
Well, the problem with Led Zeppelin, I don't know if they gave credit to Willie Dixon when they first wrote
they
it.
Didn't.
They put, written by Jimmy Page, John
Yeah.
Paul Jones, and Robert Plant, and they got some hell for that.
Yep. All right. Walter's Walk.
I don't even remember that one. Probably that gives you a good opinion on it.
Well, so here's the thing. I was like, I don't remember this song from way back, so I went and looked it up. It was an instrumental recorded for House of the Holy, but in '82, Plant put vocals over it to make it a song.
Yeah, okay.
And what's funny is if you listen to it again, you'll start to hear that's when Plant started to sound like he was on a solo career. Like,
big
changed.
log sound. And
Yeah, it's just his voice was changing. It wasn't the old Plant sound. So that song, if you listen to it, it sounds like it could have been off his first solo album.
Yep. Yeah, I got you.
Well, the vocal parts. Let's see. What else did I write? Anything else? I didn't write anything else about it. All right. Ozone Baby.
Good. It's another outtake, I think, off the album before.
In Through the Outdoor Yard.
Yeah.
Not really. Meh.
Yeah. Not their best effort.
Next song?
Darlene. Okay.
Got a butt.
I mean, it's Led Zeppelin. It's never going to be horrible.
But while I was listening to it, I kept saying to myself, like, what's the name of the song? What's the name of the song?
Yeah.
Do you know why I'm saying it? All they say is Darlene through the whole fucking
Yeah,
song.
Darlene. Yeah.
It just keeps saying it over and over. It's a shitty song I wrote down.
Yeah, for me, you can tell these are outtakes and
Yeah.
leftover cutting room floor songs.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Next one.
Drum solo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No
Just-
Moby Dick.
No.
Which, by the way, I think I heard that riff was a ripoff too. I never knew.
Moby Dick?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love that song, but
yeah, this is no.
it's very reggae.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of reggae. I think there's actually
Steel drums.
in it, right? It was okay. It was long, a little longer, I think, than a drum solo on an album should be. But and I'm a drummer, and I was like, okay, this could end anytime.
End it, will you please?
End it.
All right. Wearing and tearing.
Yeah, they got a lot from that last previous album that they didn't release. Probably why they didn't. Not terrible.
So I have a note.
But
here. I didn't. It's okay.
yeah,
I mean, it rocks.
yeah. I mean, it's not a bad song. But you got to say this is Led Zeppelin.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Led Zeppelin quality album song?
Yeah.
Is it something this band should put on?
Again, what was this album? How many albums was this? This was, like I said with The Who, this was a machine at this point, and they were having to release another album to keep the corporation moving.
Yeah.
Kurt Loder said, when he was writing for Rolling Stone, Wearin' and Tearin', along with Ozone Baby and Darlene, are about as wonderful as a hard rock and roll gets. I guess he didn't listen to Zepp 1 and 2.
Yeah, and
Like, how do you write that?
no.
They must have given him Coke or something. Like, how do you write that? So, say what you will.
I don't think it stands up
I don't either.
for the criteria I look for. Like I could listen to Van Halen, Led Zeppelin 1. I can listen to Led Zeppelin 2. I can listen to 4. I can listen to all that stuff, and it still sounds as fresh as it did the day I first heard it.
Well, that's the thing about all these recordings too. The quality in this is all different when you listen.
Oh yeah,
to
it's
them.
from all different eras.
Yeah,
you
like,
got
what?
1970, 1978. I mean, you got 76 in there. So
Yeah,
the recording quality is going to be all over the map. Some of this stuff's live.
yeah,
I mean, I say no.
yeah. I wasn't a fan.
Well, let's put it this way. If John Bonham didn't die, that would never happen.
Good point. Yeah, that would not be their album if.
That would not have come out.
No.
So.
Well, so I get a question for you. Rank the 3 drummers. Since you're a drummer.
My 3 favorite drummers?
Well, of those 3. rank
Oh,
them.
John
Third.
Bonham.
First.
Kenny Jones. Well,
What?
Neil Peart. No, John Bonham, Neil Peart, Kenny
Yeah,
Jones.
okay. That's what I thought. How about rank the 3 albums?
Signals, Coda, It's Hard.
Yeah, that's what I had. Like of these 3,
Which is not fair to Led Zeppelin because it's not a true album in its true sense of the word. This is a bunch of pre-recorded, cutting room floor stuff. But if that's what we're doing, and they're releasing it as an album, they're gonna. What they make off this album?
I have no idea. I didn't look at
Did
it.
this one gold, right?
Did it? All I know.
Gold, or platinum.
Oh,
But
They
for
had
the
the-
same reason I said before, nobody knows how bad it is until you bought it.
yeah.
Right? If you're a Led Zeppelin fan, which everybody was in 1982, they just come off that huge album with Into the Outdoor. They're all buying this, right?
Yep. And they didn't tour. I hate
No
to-
tour.
I hate
Nothing.
to say you probably had the Bonham's gone. Let's buy their album type of thing. Like let's hear some more music from Bonham.
Right. I guess it's better than producing nothing.
That, and you had Kurt Loder saying it was
That's
the most
yeah.
wonderful hard rock and roll.
Okay. Wow. What's Kurt Loder know?
He's the same.
Kurt Loder shit.
Cool. So yeah, no. If out of these three, if you said I had to listen to one on the way home, it would be Signals.
Signals.
Yeah. So.
But, honestly, I listened to Zeppelin. I listened to my truck going to work for a few days. And I didn't hate it. Because it was Led Zeppelin. And there's worse stuff out there. But I think if you said, hey, what do you want to throw in today? Signals or Coda? I would throw Signal.
Yep. Yep. So, all right, cool. Well, hey, first one in the books.
Yeah, I think it went good.
We'll see.
Right.
See if it gets
We'll
better. It can only go up, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So I guess we're gonna meet before the end of it. So this was supposed to be in September, but Ding Dong over here got sick.
Yeah, I
and
screwed that up.
Missed the date. So. We'll do another one in a couple of weeks and try to get all October. I think, if I'm looking at this, we actually have one. So we only have one album in October.
Oh, really?
And when I say what it is, you're going to be like, oh, boy. So we're going to have to, but there's a ton from November. So, actually, Rush was from November. So, and Coda. No, Coda.
Oh, wait a minute. Rush. The same year?
Yeah. That Signals album.
Oh, Signals, we did, yeah.
So we have one October official album, and then we'll do a random and pick one of the other metal, hard rock albums that we have on the list, and we'll do the same thing, and we'll make some tweaks to whatever we're doing.
Cool.
Anything else?
I think that's it. We covered everything we wanted to cover, right?
That is it. Cool. All right. Well, let's end this puppy.
Right.
See ya.
Good night, America.